Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed viewers of Civic Space TV, welcome to yet another edition of the Youth Roundtable. With me is a balanced panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen. But before I introduce them, let's get to the topic. 2021 is coming to an end. We are counting days, and then we shall be in 2022, inshallah, as the Muslims would say. This year has been very eventful. There's been a lot that has happened on the scene. Any subject you picked, you would find a lot. Be it sports, we saw our man Kidega made the nation very proud. If you pick the politics, we had an election this year, general election, just at the start of this year. That can be a whole topic to discuss. If you talked of COVID-19, the new normal, the ever-present thing, we are now in what some have already termed the third wave, and that can be a point of discussion. Yet, with me is a panel of distinguished, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, whom I'm going to give the leverage and the freedom to discuss this year from their own perspective. And we shall also look at the possible lessons they picked from this year, and then we see how we can touch a light into 2022 and see what opportunities, what challenges the young people should expect, and how we can prepare for them. Before going any further, so I'm going to have my panelists introducing themselves. We're going to start with the regular panelist, Mr. Dan Kidega, Mr. Moses Kidega, who is just right at the extreme end.
Yes, thank you very much, my good friend and comrade, Godwin Toko. Like as already said, my name is Kidega Moses. I am a member of the National Youth Council Executive. Precisely, I'm the Secretary for Labor and Works. I'm also enthusiastic about the empowerment of young people. And like he said, I'm a resident panelist on the Youth Roundtable, and I'm glad to be here every Wednesday. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you so much, moderator. I am called Sayuni Hellen. I am from the Democratic Party, the youth wing of the Democratic Party, that is the Uganda Young Democrats. I'm the vice president, and I am glad to be here. Thank you for hosting me.
All
It's
right.
my first time to be on this show, and I am feeling so good to discuss youth issues.
All right.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Hello,
you.
everyone on Civic Space TV. My name is Terry Kahuma. I am a lawyer, recently graduated from the Law Development Center. I am not on any platform like this too. However, I am so much into innovation. I do run a YouTube channel called Simply Legal by Terry Kahuma, where I do simplify the laws, especially for young people and ordinary Ugandans to understand. And I'm so happy to be here to discuss all of these issues concerning our country on this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Otyang Nancy, all the way from Karamoja, and I'm a graduate student pursuing a master's in public policy and international affairs at the American University of Beirut, soon to graduate. I'm also a philanthropist, and I'm also very keen on, politics, the political situations in my country. I'm into policy advocacy, and I'm also vying to be a gender expert. So I'm very interested in gender issues. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay. I'd said earlier that we'll discuss this here from our own perspectives.
Yeah.
But as you spoke and as the panelists spoke, something came to my mind that I thought may be very productive for the young people that are viewing us. And I'm going to just ask each of you to list for us, if you can say pass if you didn't. Just tell us the books you read this year and what lessons you learned from them. That should be in about a minute or two. And maybe like a book or two. You can go up to 5 at most. The 5 books you've read the best, and how the lessons you picked from them, and why you think that young people should read those books or should read more books. Let's start with Hellen. With her. Mercy.
Yeah, thank you so much. So basically, for this year, I've been focusing on, public policy, learning more about public policy, the processes. So I've been, I read a book on public policy handbook, and it was quite interesting for me. It was giving the different perspectives of public policy formulation from across the globe, from the Western world, and then also from Africa. It was quite interesting, and the most important lesson that I learned is that context is very important in policy making.
Okay. Terry?
Yes. So personally, for me, the fact that I'm in the legal field, I decide to enrich myself with other walks of life, and also to understand human nature in general.
Yes.
So with me, the two books that struck me the most were How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and then also The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. So from those two books, what I learned is that human nature is complex in itself, but at the same time, it's easy, because when you look at, for example, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it teaches you how to deal with people and shows you the innate nature that every human being likes to feel important. That's why we have people like Cheptegei. They will run to their best ability to be recognized in a certain way in the hallmarks of history.
Okay.
Then we also have The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Also shows you the complexity of human nature, but shows you how to balance the scales of power, either with yourself and with the outside world.
All right.
Yes.
I find comfort in understanding what a girl child goes through, what it takes for a girl child to live that kind of life that every girl out there would yearn to live. Not affected by politics, not affected by background, not affected by science, not affected by anything. I found comfort in reading Test of the D'Urbervilles, where we read about the girl Tess, very young, but society and what the girl is entitled to face in that society out there. So I found out reading that a girl child, by the time you're born, there is something that determines your future. There is something that is bound to guiding and taking you through a certain cycle of life. And I find understanding that there is that kind of pressure that is on a girl child, that you need attention, you need to be cared for, you need to be loved, you need to be guided, you need to be taken care of, and all that sort of.
Comrade Kidega.
Yeah, thank you, Godwin.
And I said I limited the number because I know that you may spend the rest of the show telling us the books you read.
No. I'll just mention one.
Okay.
As a Pan-Africanist and someone who loves this country very much, I understand that Uganda and its surrounding neighbors, the region itself is very porous. So I'm very interested on areas around security and peace and conflict resolution. So this year, what stood out for me was a book by Joseph Nye, who is a Harvard law professor. The book is entitled Understanding Global Conflict and Resolution.
Okay.
To me, that book really stood out for me. It enabled me to appreciate that conflict really comes from the most minute and smallest sources of disagreement. So to me, it was outstanding, and I would encourage every young person to read it.
Okay, so let me just say this. I read very many books in 2021. There are two books that stood out for me. There's the first, the autobiography of Malcolm X. Malcolm X was a civil rights leader in the US. What struck me most about his book is that he was a criminal. He was a burglar. He was a thief. He was everything. He used to sell drugs. Then he was taken to prison. And somehow, when he was in prison, he said he used to go to the library and read. So from the reading in the library, he said when he got there, he didn't even know English. Yeah? I mean, we all expect that an American knows English, or like a Muganda knows Luganda. But he said that he spoke more slang than any other language. So that when he got to prison, he had to first pick a dictionary, and he transcripted the dictionary. Every day he would go and transcript a page. And that's how he learned the conventional or orthodox English, as we could call it. Now, when he came out of prison, he made a lot out of his life. He fought for the black people in the US. Eventually, he was killed. But by the time of his dying, he predicted his death. He said, I'll die, but I hope that the black man will eventually have his freedom. I know that happened. Then the other book is more of philosophy. That is The Tyranny of Merit. This is a book by a Harvard professor as well, called Michael Sandel. Michael Sandel is an astute professor of philosophy and teaches things like law. So we all know the idea of merit. Let the most deserving get whatever they are deserving. Yeah. Let's not give a painting brush to a musician. Let's give it to a painter because they best know how to use it. That has been the idea that has driven the world, things like democracy and all this. But there have been emerging discussions on whether meritocracy has its flaws. And he looks at it in that perspective. So he argues that the world operates as a unit. That when you become a lawyer, and you're getting all this money, you're getting all this fame and popularity, remember to reduce yourself down and know that if a border man probably didn't take you to school at some point when you were rushing in for an exam, you would not be a lawyer in the first place. Or that if you're a doctor at Mulago and you're paid how much? 7 million. Remember that that lady who sweeps the hospital, the corridors, and earns 150. Without her, you probably wouldn't work. Or you would get cholera in Mulago and die. So for me, it was just the idea that we should always learn to put ourselves down and remember that this life operates as a unit, that we're all making a contribution. The people of the taxi are not less than us because they can't afford the cars we drive, but they can they may not afford them now, but they're also helping a certain aspect of life and making us move. Yeah. Without their cars, probably people would put roadblocks on the road and even us wouldn't drive. So those are the two books that stood out for me this year.
Yeah.
Now, that said, let's start the discussion officially. I want to begin with Nancy, in a nutshell, how would you describe 2021 from your own perspective as a young person?
Let me just breathe in, because that's exactly what it is.
It's all alive. It's all allowed.
Exactly. So it's, for me, in a nutshell, I think I would describe it in terms of resilience. Yeah. So I feel like resilience has been our driving force this year and even the previous year. So basically, I think we've made it here because of resilience. And I think it's been a very important aspect for the past 2 years to date. Yeah.
Terry?
I would like to modify Nancy.
Yes.
I would like to modify Nancy's outlook towards the year. I would like to say Uganda is an overcomer, or Ugandans are overcomers, regardless of all the strife we go through as a country. Looking at corruption, looking at COVID-19, looking at the messy elections that we had, and looking at the economic hardships that everyone has, especially the youth, unemployment. We still come out and we perform very well in other aspects. Like Olympics, we always have people we take there. People are always coming out of, for example, elections, everyone had their own candidate. People come out of it. We have, unfortunately, when it comes to the law, we have things which are repealed. We have laws which are messed up in one way or the other. But still people come out of it. So regardless of how hard things are in this country, whether you're an old person, whether you're a youth, whether you're an elderly person, we still stand out and come out, regardless of what happens.
All right. Helen?
For me, 2021 has been just a scandal.
Scandal.
A lot of scandals around here and there. Look at the education system. People have put up their heads. They've gone to school. They've gone back home. Transport has resumed. Then it has, COVID. We've woken up and known it is nowhere. And then the second wave comes, and now the third wave is here. Still, we are in 2021. So, for me, it's just been full of scandals and things that are not understandable. But I thank Ugandans that they've been able to press on. Irrespective of whatever is happening, you see Ugandans are happy, they are pressing on, though they have challenges here and there, but you see a Ugandan is described by a lot of things. You may see Ugandans are really these people who have a certain goal they want to achieve, and they are ever pressing on. They never cease to have the energy, they never cease to have the hopes. And they are all pressing on. So it was so scandalous, but irrespective of that, Ugandans are ready to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Comrade Toko, just like my colleagues have put it out, the resilience of Ugandans need to be applauded.
Yes.
But to me, what also stood out for me this particular year was the level of insecurity that we saw as a country. And to this, there are so many examples to enable us to appreciate this. And the first was, to me, the massacre killings and the massacres that happened in Masaka.
Yeah.
Of course, this came after we had just gone through a highly emotional and highly tense election. And then after that, meeting ourselves as a country with massacres of people. To me, that sank so deeply to me as a person. But also this, to a bigger extent, spoke to the challenges we have as a country. It is true that Uganda, for example, is a multi-nation state. There are many nations within the same country. And this, of course, over time has caused divisions among people, but also it has proven that we are not coherent as a people. There is no point of convergence. We lack a set of national values and national norms that bring us together as a people. Because to find that a fellow countryman or countrywoman will wield a machete and wield a gun and take the life of another countryman or countrywoman for no justified reason, to me really was something that we have to look at and ponder upon as a country. But also it speaks to the need for us to establish a common set of values as a country. Things like a national language. It is high time that as a country we began to look towards things that bring us together, things that unite us rather than things that divide us. But also, Toko, the second point of insecurity to me was that the pocket cases of terrorism that we saw in the country. You know that it was until before this year, it was 2010 where we saw cases of terrorism, being orchestrated in the country. But to me, this also speaks to the general challenge we have, both as a country, but also as a globe, that terrorism has evolved. It is now no longer about terrorism within a country, but now it is transnational terrorism. That you have the ADF based in, for example, DRC Congo, but they orchestrate their violence and terrorism across Uganda, across Rwanda, South Sudan, among others. That you have the Al-Shabaab that is based in Somalia, but they orchestrate their violence and terrorism across. Okay? You have the Boko Haram in Nigeria, but their works are cutting across multinations. So to me, that speaks to the need for us as a globe to have a collective security agenda. Because it is high time that as a people, we got together to address, because terrorism to me is an emerging challenge that the world must deal with now more than ever. Because they have become more sophisticated, their means of communication have become more difficult to encrypt or difficult to understand. And this takes me back to what Woodrow Wilson, as USA President of America, in 1918 introduced the League of Nations, whose idea was that how can the Western worlds come together to work towards a common security agenda. So I think as Africa, as East Africa, we need to come together to build a common security agenda, but also as a continent of Africa, we must work deliberately towards having a common security agenda, because it's until we work together that we can address some of these challenges. So to me, insecurity really cut across, of course, to mention things like the challenges we had with our neighbors, Rwanda, okay? Still, to me, this was an insecurity aspect. And you see, the current age and era is about, there is growing nationalism across the world. Every country wants to espouse its national values and national interests. So any attempt to impede the sovereignty of any country, to me, it's very dangerous and it's a source of conflict. So I think countries must respect the sovereignty of other countries, whether they are democracies or monarchies. You must accord different states their sovereignty and see them as equals. Yeah.
That's okay. I love it that each of you came in with a different perspective and we more or less summed it up all. So the other thing I want to know is, you being young people, some of you even leaders in different and doing a lot of wonderful and amazing things in your spheres of life, do you have confidence in the leadership of this country? Do you feel like as young people, the right things are being done or there's progress being made? So if I put it plainly, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate this government or rate this system that is leading Uganda? And from the youth perspective, would you give it a 5? Would you give it a 10? Would you give it a 1? That would be up to you. So let's start again with Comrade Kidega.
Thank you.
But starting with, we're looking at this year.
Yes.
Don't say, oh, in 1986 there was this. So let's just look at 2021.
I think I don't have to put so much blame on this particular government, because the interests and how any government operates is a reflection of its people. And like I've told you already, Uganda is a multi-nation state. We have different nations within the same country. So what this means is that our national interests are going to be shaped by different aspirations and different dreams, So I think this government has performed fairly well this year. Out of 10, I would give it about 8%. Yes, just like any other government, we have challenges. And I am a proud member of the National Resistance Movement. And yes, I agree we have challenges as a government. Maybe things to do with maybe human rights and things to do with maybe rule of law. We are still lacking there. I agree. But our democracy has made progress. Okay, not like in the early days where we had a pigeonhole constitution, or maybe we had a president's ruling by decree. No, we have a constitution that was made by Ugandans and owned by Ugandans. So I believe we have made progress as a country democratically. So this government, to me, 8 out of 10 is a fair judgment.
For 2021?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then also looking at how we managed the COVID-19 situation, really 8 out of 10 is
okay.
good.
Let's get the views of Hellen.
it's tricky, but the mistakes that the government has made has been out of trying to at least protect Ugandans this time round. The government has tried to protect a Ugandan, but how has it done it? The processes. You want to protect Ugandans against COVID-19, then you lock them down. Then you want to give out relief refund. It ends up on a lawyer who is a border man, and then out of the blue is waxing the council. So I think the government has tried to work within the means that it has to protect the citizens. And to me, that I would give them maybe some 7 can work for them. But on issues of democracy, no, it has not worked. And there we are very lacking, and we have done nothing totally, I would say, because we have had issues of doing things because it must be done, not that we must get the results that we want to have. Looking at, for example, the elections we had in January, somehow I thought I reached an extent and said maybe it was just that we must have an election after the 5 years. But I thought we were not ready, we were not at it. Look at the election in Kayunga, we were not at it. You cannot tell me you eat food and then it is not on a plate, for God's sake, for me to eat. You tell me you eat food and then it is full of thorns? No, that is not how they do things. So I think 7 would work for the government.
7 looks high compared to what you said. I thought you were one.
The 3 I am saying, we would give them the 3. And no, please, I would deduct the 3 because so far they've tried to protect the citizens, but the mistakes they've done is out of the mercy and not the mercy actually, is out of the energies.
So you stick with 7.
So meaning
Yes,
we had the goodwill.
I am not ready.
That was goodwill from the government.
There has been goodwill.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. People do a lot of bad things and say, oh, but my intentions were clear. Okay, let's listen to Terry.
Okay, for me, I will approach it in 3 ways. Number 1, I will not sugarcoat what has happened. I will also say that our government is a cocktail of many things. A cocktail like we normally have these lemon, pineapple, this. The government has done a number of commendable things. For example, it handled the COVID-19 situation very well. That one, I was very happy with the government. As a young person, that promoted longevity of life. However, when it comes to things, it's lacking in many aspects. When it comes to rule of law, because I'm a lawyer, when it comes to rule of law, it's lacking grossly. When you look at things like Bobby Wine, if we're being honest, Bobby Wine is a citizen of this country. He has a right to participate in elections. He was treated the same exact way as Kizza Besigye, if not even worse. Bobby Wine, as look at all the rights in the Constitution, all his rights were violated. We now go into the abductions of all of his comrades. People were taken to Nalufenya. People were taken to secret locations, black sites, where you could not find them. By the time they came out, they were dehumanized. They could not even recognize themselves. So we have a cocktail of a government. It's like it takes 1 step forward and 2 steps back, or 3. So sometimes as a young person, I'm conflicted. Is it doing good? Is it doing bad?
But if it is 1 step good things, and 3 back, that is clearly a negative.
It has like 1 goal here and then like 3 goals. It has conceded the other side.
I think the good goal is to keep the chair.
I'll not go there. The major issue is that it's not many people blame our president, but me, I think he's a good man and he's done a good job. The problem is his internal people.
When he employs and maintains and keeps,
he maintains and keeps, but then do these people have Uganda at heart? I'm a patriot, but do these people have Uganda at heart? If you look at other countries, I normally don't like to compare, but if you look at other countries, the US, the UK, a child is brought up from word go and they have the heart for their nation.
Yes.
Trust me, in every state there is corruption, whether it's in the US, whether it's in the UK, the Netherlands, whatever it is. But still their states develop. Why? Because they have the heart. Even if I'm going to take a bribe of 200 billion, I'm still going to reserve most of it to develop my nation, for my descendants, to find a good country. So our problem is inside the system. The systems are archaic. If you look at our education system, we need to overhaul it entirely.
Okay.
It has been disrupted by COVID, but the government is not doing anything about it. We are preparing ourselves to become job seekers, but not innovators. And that's where the world is going. We are not addressing global trends, which are rising every time. Then when it comes to COVID, still they I'm going to give my whole score sheet over a scale of 1 to 10 later. But if you look at how COVID-19 was handled, perfect, fantastic. But how have the children transcended into the next classes? I was recently hearing that now they're going to reconsider children now skipping 2 classes. If one was in senior 2, now they're going to S4. They're not ready. So we have a lot of issues to look at. Much as we are 1 step forward and 3 steps back, we need to now address we need to address our weaknesses. The strengths are already there. When we look at security, we have, like Comrade Moses said, we had the 2010 bombings at Chadondo. Those, I think, have been like the bare bottom, like rock bottom of how our country has been in terms of terrorism. But when the twin bombings came up this year, yes, we did a few investigations. But if I'm to be honest, I saw them, they were putting barricades around Parliamentary Avenue and where CPS is, where the 2 twin bombings happened. But then that is not easy. It's not logical, because you should be looking for these bombs. Invest in security where you're looking for more threats instead of being in an area which has already happened. If lightning strikes once, you can't again be there to wait for it to strike again. We need to be looking for more bombs, in other words.
A holistic kind of solution.
Yes, and concentrate our forces in areas which are going to protect us. Other than that, I would say I would give this government 5 out of 10.
Okay.
On average, it has done well, but we need more.
The rating is plummeting, like
Going down.
it's taking a nosedive. Let's listen to Nancy.
Too much pressure. All right. So this is the problem with being the last to submit. I feel like so much has been said, and I could pick a leaf from each and every one that has submitted before me. I think generally I could speak from my perspective as a policy student. Theoretically, I think we have very up-to-date policies on so many issues, but from the Western perspective, so we have a lot of policies that have just been imported. And if a person from Europe is coming and reading through our constitution, or rather our policies on curbing teenage pregnancies, they are very Western, I would say, and I think that is a very big problem, because we are lacking context, right? I would also give an example of the case of the insecurity situation in Karamoja right now. The approach is a disaster, I would say, as a Karamojong. So I think there's a whole lot of context in all the policies that government has been adopting recently, especially this year. Politically, I think this year has really hit on the nationalism spirit of Ugandans. So I feel like there's a whole divide right now. So many people have been subdivided into very small Ugandan I think you mentioned something about having very many nations in one nation. And this year it has actually happened like a whole lot more. And I think
what makes you say that? What do you see and say, oh?
Because of the situation with the Bobby Wine, with the new with the NUP taking over the lead of the opposition, and a lot of things that he has faced, several human rights violations, and it's a whole, I don't know, personally as a person, I don't know, I'm questioning, honestly, I'm questioning my nationalism spirit. So there's definitely need to rethink that, to think of avenues to bring people together. Okay. Yeah, I think Kidega mentioned that.
So are you among people who believe that the come up of Bobby Wine has affected the nationalism spirit of the people?
Yeah, I believe it has. I feel like...
Do you mind telling us, like, in which way it does?
I'm also curious.
Okay, so I feel like as Ugandans this year, so many people have questioned whether they belong to Uganda, as whether they are actually Ugandans, or I feel like most people have divided Uganda into the NRM, the ruling party Ugandans, and then those that do not belong to the ruling party. So most people do not belong. I feel like they don't belong. Don't feel like the current government is not working for them. Rather, it's working for specific...
I am getting confused a little. Seems you're seemingly saying that opposition has just come because Bobby is not here.
No. I mean, like, right now, it has really spiked. You get what I mean?
Okay.
Like, most people do not feel like the current ruling party is leading them. It's actually their legitimate leader. You get what I mean? So therefore, they feel like they do not have a leader as a country right now. some people, majority of, especially the young people,
Yeah.
Okay.
because of the Bobby Wine effect.
Nancy,
Yeah, so-
if the president
Yeah.
or someone who has the powers is watching you,
Yeah.
what would you advise them? How would they go about that problem?
I think like Kidega mentioned something about, creating avenues, that things that can bring Ugandans together, like a national language, for example. Because right now there are very many, tribal wars. There's
Can
the
I just say this? Somalis speak one language
Yeah.
that they've been fighting for quite some time.
Yeah. So I'm also saying
just
that.
a second again.
Yeah.
The Rwandese speak one language. There is Nyarwanda.
No.
Yeah, that's Nyarwanda.
No, they
No.
are different
no.
sub. Yeah, no, no,
They're
no.
But they
different
adopt to
subgroups.
other languages.
Yeah, but
They adopted.
like Kenyans have Kiswahili. Yeah, I
Yes.
can be a Chikuyu, I can be a Jaluo, but there's Kiswahili that almost maybe 90% of Kenyans speak.
Yeah.
There's Nyarwanda that maybe 90% of Rwandans speak. You've seen the skirmishes that have happened in Kenya 2007. Rwanda had a whole genocide in 1994.
Yeah.
Aren't we stretching that importance of the language?
No, I just gave it as an example
I think
because
there is no silver bullet on how to address it.
it's just
A
one
national
of the
language
issues.
is just one of the means that we can adopt as a country.
And
As
it
a
will-
country,
build
there are so
cohesion.
many
It will
other
bring
options.
a lot of unity.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are so
of
many
unity.
others. It's
Yeah.
just one of
Because
them.
I'll give an example of the United States. There
Yeah.
are Chinese, there are Japanese, there are Italians, there are, Hispanics,
Yeah.
but English unites
But
them.
English unites them.
And yes, they have their small subgroups of Chinatown, they have Little Italy, they have this,
Yeah.
they are blacks.
Mexicans and all
But
that.
then English and that sense of
Unites
nationalism
them.
is what unites them.
What I'm thinking,
Yeah.
so I'm going to make my own
Yeah,
submission,
yeah.
is that Ugandans are divided.
Yes.
That is a given. Yeah. That people keep wondering. My NRM friends keep wondering, why would someone go to social media and share the worst of Uganda to the world?
Yeah.
Yet they could share the best. I think most of the elites in Uganda, yeah, if it's about unity in language,
Yeah.
they're united by English. Yeah. I mean, most of the Ugandans who use social media like Twitter have the unity of the language, that they can speak English. It ordinarily would unite them. What I think the problem is, maybe it goes back to what we started with. Maybe it's a question of governance. Yeah, like she said, if I feel like this country is not working for me,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me just give an example.
Just
Yeah.
make a conclusion. I mean, people feel like families are not working for them. Yeah, kids feel like this family is not working for me, and they go and decide to live on the streets. Yeah,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter that they have the same mother, the same father, they speak the same language at home, and they have the same ancestry. That is my honest opinion.
Yeah.
More or less a question of governance. Can we get to a point where this country works?
Exactly.
Or at least you
Irrespective
feel
of
like-
the political parties,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Because like recently in the Kayunga situation, the Kayunga elections, I think the president made a very, very controversial statement. He said, "How do you expect me to deliver for you if you do not have a chairperson who is NRM?" And I was
So
like,
if you're not
"How?"
NRM, you feel secluded.
Exactly. So that means if Kayunga votes for an opposition chairperson, he will not deliver. He will not build roads for them, for example.
Okay.
So that's a very big issue.
Let me bring in the same issue, and I think that's a debate that is long overdue. I'm going to bring in Kidega. She has actually brought in a very, very valid point.
Yeah.
You see, the country seems not to work for everyone. Yeah, there are youths who seem to have their way around, get things more easily.
Yeah.
Then there are youths who seem to have to struggle much more. That I told someone earlier that I hope that they will return concerts and people can go and have fun despite COVID, as long as they observe the SOPs. And that's still my honest view. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not a scientist. So someone said, yeah, they can return them, but not Bobby Wines. Then I said, why wouldn't they return the ones of Bobby Wines? Said, see, Bobby Wine has turned these things into politics. He goes there and starts campaigning. Then I said, is it actually wrong to be a politician? Is it wrong to campaign in Uganda? Now, the bigger question here is that, are we making opposition a crime? Has it reached a point where I can only be NRM? And if I'm not NRM, it's de facto, yeah, a crime for me not to be NRM, and therefore I get punished. He talked of the kidnaps that happened. We saw the arrests that happened.
The beating.
How do we respond to these things as young people and ensure that, well, maybe these things are happening? So either work to stop them, or we say, despite these things happening, we can always unite as young people and still come back and share the Rolex. Yeah, normally share Rolex with my friends. You can be 5 and you cut it into 5 pieces. How do we get to that point?
Wow, that's a mouthful of a question. But well, you see, fairness has been a controversial issue for such a long time. And this is not only in Uganda, it cuts across the globe. When the blacks were fighting against the apartheid, it was because of a given sense of unfairness that they felt they were not being accorded. when the black people were being denied the right to vote in the USA, and the Martin Luther Kings rose up and said, no, we deserve equal rights, okay? It was because they felt there was a sense of unfairness. So the issue of unfairness to me is not unique to Uganda. So it is not new that certain people or a group of people might feel that, oh, this government doesn't work for us, okay? But that is not to say that the NRM works in isolation, in that it chooses who to render services to or who not to give services to. If you went to, for example, Mulago Referral Hospital or anywhere or any government institution, I don't think they would ask for your political party. They'll simply ask for you for your ID and offer you the services.
So the statement by
So it is
the statement by
How
the
about
Prime
the
Minister.
Gambanogo?
The statement by the Prime Minister that we need vote for NRM leaders. The Prime Minister said that first.
Yeah, Prime Minister.
Vote for NRM leaders. If you don't vote for NRM leaders, we want to give you services. Does that make sense? Do you think she was high? Do you think she was out of
On
order
national television.
on national television? Or you think it's just politics at play?
Well, like I've said before, right now, if any of us went to a public institution, do not question what political party we belong to.
Some do.
But
Some tend to do.
I think the context in which the president or the prime minister put out their communication
statements.
is somehow being blown out of proportion. Okay, I think that the president in his argument was trying to say that the NRM is the ruling political party in Uganda. Whatever is being implemented is the manifesto of the political party. So if you had someone who understands our ideology, someone who understands the way the NRM operates, someone who understands the aspirations of the NRM, it would be easier for me to, work with them. Okay, I mean, it is common logic to all of us
She
here
wants to say something. So
Yeah.
that, for example, as a child, it is easier for you to speak to your father than someone who came from outside. It is only logical. But that is not to say that the will of the people must be usurped. The people must, at
But
the
that's
end of the
already
day,
contradicting.
the people must, at the end of the day, elect their leaders. The role of a president, who is also a party chairman, is to campaign for their candidate. Okay?
okay.
He's a president, but also a party chairman of a political
Let her
party.
make a rejoinder and then.
Yeah. I think that's a very. I feel like it's contradicting in a way, because you're saying that political parties, for example, like the NRM, and what exactly the Prime Minister and the President meant, that it would be much easier for them to work with leaders that are NRM in various constituencies, right? But then I feel like it again undermines the democracy that we are trying to uphold, right? Because we are telling people to vote for people that they believe in, right? And
What
then
is-
you're telling
But
them
we are in a
again.
multi-party dispensation.
Meaning?
We are not in the merit system where it is an individual campaigning. Here it is a political party. Okay, so if a party presents a candidate, their aspiration is that the candidate must win the election. So what is wrong with the party chairman campaigning for a party candidate?
By
No,
saying
we're
that
not saying it's the
To win the election.
What you're saying is
Because
his dictum
campaigning,
is the problem.
Gordon, just a second. Campaigning for the NRM candidate might not be an issue. The issue comes in if the will of the people is usurped. Okay, if the people go against and still elect a different candidate, and that will is usurped, and their will is hijacked. That's why the issue is. But for a party chairman to campaign for a party candidate is absolutely very okay.
Don't you think
No, just a minute.
in this case, the
Helen,
will has been usurped by
just a minute.
intimidating
Exactly,
Ugandans?
that's
Because by the
intimidation.
time you come out and tell Kayunga people, if you don't vote this, then this is not going to come. How should a layman in Kayunga not accept things to go to Kayunga? How should I go against the will of the president and then vote Wadimba, the DP candidate? Yet services are going to just be grabbed off from me.
Like I said,
Like-
you took it literally. You're taking the president's statement out of context.
No.
The idea was not that services will not come. Services will still come.
Okay.
What did he
But
mean?
he
Exactly.
meant that
Helen,
it will be
you know,
easier.
we can stay on that point until the cows come back home. So now what I want to
Okay.
ask Kidega is, do you feel, like she said, that this country seems not to be working for certain people, based entirely on their political affiliation? That if I am opposition, I feel, you've mentioned that if people go to Mulago, they will get the same services. Fair point. But there are people who feel like, man, that is for the NRM people. Certain jobs are reserved for people in the NRM. Yeah, and we know these jobs. Certain favors are reserved for people in the NRM. Let me give you an example of, I see cars. A friend of mine called Nanda Chizito joked recently that if you wanted to move a bomb across Uganda, you'd probably find it easier if you put Museveni, Tulinawe, 2022 as your number plate on the front and at the back.
Yes.
The police would hardly stop you to check whatever you're carrying. You understand?
True.
Because
But
now
you put Bobby Wine?
yeah, but in
Oh.
fact, if you wore a red beret, yeah,
Mhm.
and you walked at night, they would still find you and arrest you. So do you feel like there's some illegality that is being accepted because the perpetrators belong to a certain political shade and certain things are being blown again out of proportion because the people that perpetrate them are not of that particular of the ruling party? And does this then justify a claim that the country seems to work for certain people? In Uganda, they would say there's Abana, Neviana. Yeah, it seems to work for certain people at the expense of other people.
You see, Comrade Godwin, because now where this is going is about governance now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see, there are principles of governance, principles of accountability, principles of transparency, principles of service delivery. And those are the principles on which we must judge this government, not on the sentiments of one or two people. Okay? So the question should be that, are there services being given across to all Ugandans, irrespective of your divide? That's the yardstick to judge the governance of the NRM.
Yeah.
So the question should be that when you go to hospitals, like I said, when you go to public schools, public whatever it is, do they ask you for your political affiliation before they can offer you services? The answer is no. Okay.
Okay.
Issues to do with
allow these two to come in.
Yeah.
Let's begin with Terry.
For me, I would say yes, there's governance.
Yes.
But what brings about governance? That's rule of law. There are two major things to me as to why this government is not working out. There's a lot of ambiguity, and that also comes with the rule of law.
Yeah.
One law is violated, the other one is respected.
Yes.
So now, people in Uganda are left in disarray. They're saying, now we're seeing Bobby Wine being stopped to go to Kayunga. We're seeing him being beaten, he's being tear gassed. Him and his party people, all their clothes were torn. It violates a number of laws: trespass to person, privacy, this. So if certain people are allowed to move of the ruling party and others are not allowed to move, then there's a lot of ambiguity. A Ugandan is left there saying, yes, I'm being provided services, their system's running, but how effective are they?
Okay.
And also, there's a lot of people are not being heard. They are crying inside, but then on the outside, they are being forced to smile.
Yeah.
Because if you don't smile in the face of the ruling party or people who are affiliated to it, you're going to face issues. It's a reality.
True.
Yes.
Just
yes.
the last one. So I think also the issue of quality comes in terms of the services that government provides. For example, you asked that if I go to Mulago Hospital and then I show my national ID, I definitely get services. But what kind of services do I get? Can a minister or can a son of a minister go to the same hospital and go to the same get the same services, or they would probably have to take him to the VIP section or something like that? So the quality of service also matters. We cannot only look at the stipulated,
The
structures that you're saying, transparency that we can use for judging, but also the quality of the services that government is providing. Is it for everybody, or it's just for specific individuals that can afford?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's sadly a topic we're going to leave hanging.
Yeah.
In the interest of time.
Can I just make my concluding remarks? Because I think they all seem to be speaking the same language except me. So it's only fair
I'll give you a minute.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Just like she put it earlier on, the question was yes, we can discuss the quality of services. True, I agree. But for us to discuss the segregation and discrimination when it comes to service access is what I was disagreeing with.
Yeah.
I agree that yes, the services might be low, or might be of, the quality is still wanting. I agree. But it is not discriminated or segregated to only people who are affiliated to the NRM. Anyone can access national services and public services. But also, Godwin, just conclusively, because I think our time is fast spent, is that let me speak about the national interests of this country. And I want to speak from the liberal point of view. That as a country, like I've mentioned earlier on, we are subdivided into small nations. That means that even our national interests and foreign policy is going to be influenced by the domestic set of non-coherent values. So to me, like I said, it isn't surprising that you find that Ugandans don't see themselves as one people. When there was Konyi in Acholi, it was an Acholi affair. When landslides happen in Bududa, it is a Bududa affair. When the Kabaka is being whatever it is a Buganda affair. I think it was Mpanga who said that, Council Mpanga, who said that as a country we have lost a DNA. We don't feel each other's pain anymore. And I have to agree with that statement because, like I said, there is no common set of cohesion that brings us together as a country. Okay, so I think that as someone who belongs to the ruling party, our party must deliberately attempt in terms of uniting this country. I also agree that we need a peace and reconciliation attempt as a country.
Just a follow-up question.
Mm.
To get the solution, we of course need to get the cause. What caused that?
Cause the
disunity.
Of course, the
lack of DNA.
the natural indifferences of the people. I am Anacholi. I have my own beliefs as a person. He is maybe a Munyori, he has his own beliefs. So some of these are homogeneous in nature. They are not exactly orchestrated or they are not manufactured. Some are homogeneous and are more generical than they are orchestrated. So, but it falls, the mantle falls upon us as young people, but above all as leaders, to deliberately attempt to unify the country and create a point of convergence where all of us see ourselves as Ugandans and move together as a country.
Okay.
I'd just like to say something just briefly. I would I would concur with his statement. I always believe that always take an example of what other people have been through, learn from their mistakes before it happens here.
Okay.
If you look at what happened in Rwanda in the 1994 genocide, the country was in total dismay. We have the Hutus, we have the Tutsis, we have the Batwa. They were speaking the same language, but there was no unity, especially ever since the bombing of their president Habyarimana at that time. Now, what I would really applaud President Kagame for what he has done. In Rwanda, there is no Hutu or Tutsi. We are all Banyarwanda. That's what they all say. They speak the same language. He has tried to promote that love for Rwanda. We need to do this, we need to do this. I feel like even if we have different groups of people, we need to input that DNA back into us.
Okay.
And this whole issue of tribe is what also has brought about issue. Now, that's the cause you're talking about. Once we eliminate that whole thing, we can never limit our history as Africans. But removing this thing of me, I'm a Mnyoro, I must do this. I must have the oil in Bunyoro. I'm a Muganda, I must be in the capital city. It's not yours. If we have that sense of unity, and especially us as young people, we can groom ourselves to loving our nation once again.
Okay. So to conclude this first session, I'm going to ask you guys, like we started, can you just tell us how you view this year in terms of the youths? Yeah. Forget the government. We talked about the government earlier. When you look at the young people and the things that have transpired in this year, the youth leaders, the youthful athletes, the youthful politicians, the youthful religious leaders, are they making progress? Does it are the signs good? Do you smell the coffee that perhaps the youth are now on track and 10, 20 years from now things will be even better for the young people? Let's start with you, Nancy.
Thank you so much. I think, honestly, I think the youth this year have showed up and they have turned up and they have owned. They've endeavored as much as possible to participate politically. Even I was privileged to be part of the youth elections this year. It was very, very interesting, and I think even the unity was there because I saw people from various parties, when they were voting for youth MPs. So I think the youth really are taking charge, and I think I can applaud them, including even the National Youth Council leaders of this year. I really, really appreciate the work that they're doing, and I think we are headed towards the right direction.
Terry?
Yes, I would believe so, especially our comrade here, Kidega. I'm so impressed with the national youth platform.
Just don't say National Unity Platform.
Don't say that.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with the leadership of the youth. The leadership goes just beyond even the governance part of it and part of these statutory bodies that we have.
Sure.
Even individual influencers, we have these artists, we have Eddie Kenzo, we have so and so, we have innovators. They are inspiring the youth.
This year was more of a Zawi's year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she even made a song this year. Is our
and
year.
she's a young person as well.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, let me be honest. I'm a very, very huge Eddie Kenzo fan. He's a youth. Eddie Kenzo has transcended from being a street child to being in Dallas, Texas, and he's already winning awards representing East Africa. So I believe as youth, we are actually going way beyond than I had ever imagined because we are doing incredible things. And I think the youth are now beginning to believe in our country. If Eddie Kenzo can do this, I can do this. If there's a YouTuber doing this, I can do this. If Kidega Moses is educating the youth about this and this, I can also do it.
Okay.
So the youth leaders have really done a good job.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me also, it's been a plan B year for youth, that you had to think of what to do next. Schools have been closed. If you're a university student and you've been concentrating at university, what else can you do apart from going to school? If you've been a border rider, what next can you do? We've seen youth now innovating, and they are doing crafts on streets. Seated at home, they are doing online business. Has hiked you people. There has been a lot.
Boom.
Mostly youth.
I
youth
have
led.
a shoe online. It's just a call away. So it's been a year of innovation, though there has been kind of stunting for education systems, and we are going to have a huge, like a whole decade to resurrect the education system, because a lot has been lost. I have a daughter who, when they closed school, she was 8. But when you look at her now, she's like 30 almost. You can think she's older than me. The breasts are out, and she's doing well, when a guy may start now asking for things, you know. So to me, it's been just like we've innovated, we've been innovative, but again, there has been that kind of level where the education system has died, and it has killed the youth, because mostly the schools are occupied by the youth, not necessarily this other age. Yeah.
Finally, comrade.
Yeah, to me, about young people, the best way to term it, in my view, is by quoting Frantz Fanon, who said that every generation must identify its generational mission, but also choose to either betray it or fulfill it. I think as a generation of young people, we are still struggling with finding our generational mission. There are still pocket cases of I am yellow, I am blue, I am green. We must see ourselves as the youth party, you know, not the NRM, not the FDC, but as a youth party. It's only until we realize that we are the group of people who are going to be in this country much more longer than anyone else that we shall begin to see ourselves as one and begin to work towards the youth agenda. But conclusively, also young people must deliberately leverage on their numerical advantage.
Okay.
And I must say that, yes, like my colleagues have said, it's a year to say how resilient have young people been. Because when you look at the COVID-19 situation, you look at the schools, you look at all these insecurities, young people were at the forefront of being affected. But they have risen up and said, we can still march forward. Yes, we have fallen down, but we can get up and move forward as young people. But also our participation has improved in terms of political, participation. Now we have districts like in PG where the LC5 is a 28-year-old young person. The Parliament has a couple of young people. So I think really, gachali mabaga, we have done a couple of things we can do much more as young people.
All right, thank you. The producers are telling me that the first session must end here. So we are going to have a break. Just subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification so that when video is uploaded, you can always watch them. Nancy, Terry, Helen, and Moses will be back with me for the second session after this brief break. Thank you. Catch you. Welcome back, our dear viewers, to the second and the final edition of today's episode of these discussions that we have weekly. Just before we went for the break, we looked at 2021. We saw the various things that happened in this year. We looked at them from the different angles and the different perspectives. There was a discussion. Some people think that our moral fabric, as far as, in fact, our national fabric is dying out. We are no longer as united. And Kidega says, yes, that is true, but he thinks that it's for different reasons, and we shouldn't only stone the politicians. That's a discussion that we're going to leave for you to have within your circles. Why are Ugandans less patriotic? Why are Ugandans not feeling Ugandan enough? For those who are feeling, or if you're not feeling Ugandan enough, ask yourself, what causes this? What would happen and make me feel more Ugandan? Let's leave that discussion there. Let's close it at that. Now, what look at 2022? Of course, no one among us has lived in 2022. Yeah. But as human beings, we can project trends. We can say that the birds are going this way. That means that the rainy season is coming. And our ancestors have done this for such a long time. So looking at this year, looking at the last couple of years, looking at the things that are happening around us, looking at COVID. So we're going to try to understand how 2022 will be for the young people that have on this panel. Once again, I'll mention the names. We have Nancy, we have Terry, we have Hellen, and we have Moses. A very distinguished and balanced panel of young ladies and gentlemen. Now, first, I want to look at it from an angle that Terry would love. That is the technology aspect, technology, innovations, and things happening in that space. This year has brought a lot of people, has brought in the technology a lot. I see adverts on billboards that you can now buy shares of Tesla in Uganda. It seems like Uganda is picking up. Uganda is joining the party. We saw innovations like Twitter Spaces, and the likes of Kabushenga have fruitfully used that. Mr. Kabushenga, I'm afraid I should say, because he's a man I respect. We've seen more YouTube channels coming out. We've seen a lot of online businesses coming up. And most of these things are actually controlled, manned, or targeting the youth. Now, I want to start with Terry right there. Is this the time? Is this the era that the youth have been waiting for, when technology finally takes over, when innovations come and then they seize them and use them to their advantage? Or are we not prepared, or there are things that we should do that can prepare us better? As someone that has a YouTube channel, I would want to understand that from you.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a very good question. First of all, I would like to reiterate, I do run a YouTube channel called Simply Legal by Terry Kahuma, which is a legal YouTube channel where I simplify the law creatively for people to understand both national and international. That brings me now to your question. As the youth in Uganda, COVID-19 brought a lot of havoc and hell on earth. However, it gave us an opportunity. Like they are normally say, with every dark cloud there's a silver lining.
Yes.
The youth are more open-minded, as we all know, we're all youth. It has given us a chance to say, if school has failed, or if I've been halted in third year, what should I do? What can I do? I have my smartphone, I can open up a YouTube channel. It's free of charge. What do I need to do to run this YouTube channel? I need data, I need content, I need confidence on camera, I need especially content. I need to build an audience. So innovation has taken a skyrocket up, definitely. I have loved the fact that Ugandans have come up with all sorts of inventions. Okay. People are building massive Rolexes. People are coming up with YouTube channels. People are building apps. People are doing all sorts of things which would never have happened if maybe this pandemic didn't come up. So it kind of gave us that uncomfortable position to come out of our comfort zones and come up with these kinds of innovations. To again answer your second question, are we prepared? I always have this thing that it's now or never. If we always wait for the right time, we shall never move. Yeah. So as youth, we have exceeded our expectations. Okay. We have done the best we could have, and we still have a lot to do. We're just scratching the surface of what we can do. So I would love to see more and more innovation, more copyrightable material, more out-of-the-box thinking. In fact, we should even be there and there's no box in our minds.
Okay.
Let me just finish up. What do we need to boost creativity and innovation in Uganda? First of all, as a country, we need to encourage innovation amongst ourselves and the leadership as well. The ruling, the people that govern this country should also encourage innovation. Why? Because it starts from the leaders and it starts from the grassroots. If someone in Kapchora also wants to begin some sort of innovation, then the ruling party should then say, okay, I'm sorry to say the ruling party, I'm a bit confused.
The government?
The government should say, okay, we have a lot of young minds. The older people are less innovative than the younger people. What can we do? Let us strike a deal with, let's say, Airtel or MTN. Let us make data bundles cheaper so that people can be able to upload these videos and increase their following, both national and international. I came across a weird study that I did. The reason why people in Tanzania are very innovative, for example, the reason why Diamond Platinum may get many views on YouTube is because data has been made so cheap and Tanzania has been made almost a 4G or 5G country. So meaning that innovation is now put to a fast pace. A Tanzanian will say, okay, I can also do a YouTube channel promoting Kiswahili or promoting Masai clothing. Let me do this. Let me show African culture all over the world. So in Uganda, we lack that aspect. Innovation is not so much encouraged, even in our own families.
That's at the national policy level.
That's the national policy level. But now on the family level, it's not encouraged so much because parents will tell you, you should go the traditional route. you must go to school, must get a degree, go and get a normal job, a 9 to 5. But they're not encouraging that innovation. What I can ask my son, what else can you do aside from a 9 to 5 job? You're a lawyer, but what else can you do if the law was taken away from you?
Okay.
Yes.
Kidega, are you one of those youths who are just there, vibes and inshallah, like people have to say, or you're also doing something and taking advantage of this this new wave of technology, innovations? Do you fall somewhere?
Yeah, thank you, Comrade Godwin. I think just like Comrade Terry has said, that in every crisis there's a silver lining. When you look at World War I, it was a crisis that the globe experienced, but it gave opportunity to Germany to rise. World War II equally gave opportunity to the USA to rise. When you look at India, the time they had a health crisis, it gave them an opportunity for their pharmaceutical business to really rise up. So I think COVID-19 in its own way, it has been a crisis, yes, but also like Terry said, it has given us an opportunity to really trigger the innovativeness of Ugandans, but also, like we discussed earlier on, to build our resilience as a people. But also it has exposed the weakness of our health sector. That I must concede, that you have, because lockdown was as a result of the health sectors not being able to contain or to manage the cases that were coming into the hospitals. We saw our Minister of Health even asking people to self-medicate from home. So to me, it equally exposed our health sector, but above all, it should be able to influence and guide our national interests as a country once again. And this I expect to see in the next financial year budget. Are we going to continue doing more of the same, or we are going to now wake up and say, hey guys, look here, there's need for us to invest more money in the health sector. There's need for us to subsidize maybe networking, like Terry said, subsidize things like access to the internet, subsidize things like access to data, among other things.
Okay.
So I think it gives us a grand opportunity to rethink where we want to go as a country, because COVID-19 has taught us that you don't actually need to go to office every day. You can work from home. But also this working from home needs to be supported by infrastructure that really, ideally, any government must be interested in building infrastructure that supports its people. Because you know of the social contract we have, that the people have with their government, okay? As a people, we meet our end of the bargain by paying taxes, but also the government must deliberately adhere to its end of the bargain by offering infrastructure and creating an environment that enables its people to thrive. So I think that there is really much more work that we have to do as a country. But above all, I speak to the hope and the hope and to the aspirations that there's better to come. Yeah, we have had a tough year, yes, but next year is going to be one where we shall correct our mistakes and rebuild our country and forge a way forward together as a country.
Okay, Helen, the girl child enthusiast. Where's the girl child in all this? Yeah, is the girl child also taking up
The teenage pregnancies.
space and getting opportunities to rise? Or we are seeing another problem that may need some sort of affirmative action, that we say, let's also help the girl child so that she can also rise with the rise of technology.
Don't try to preempt me by bringing pregnancy, teenage pregnancies. I think as a government, we need to refocus and look at do we invest too much in vocational trainings and whatnot, because the sitting down of this girl child has caused a lot of trouble.
It has.
We have, I am worried of some regions where we have always had regions like Kalamajong regions where we have.
The region is called Karamoja.
So Karamajong is a tribe. So yes, we have had times and years where you even have no S6 student of a lady sitting a whole year. So I am so scared. We may need to refocus and maybe look at how we skill these hands and shift from the knowledge part of it, but also empower somebody with the hands and what we can do. I am so open and waiting for the country to be so open, and we don't have curfew, we don't have what, so that when I make my crafts and I'm at the street selling them, I can actually sell till 9 or 10. Because my shoe can get torn as I live here, and by 7 I may need another shoe in earlier. get. So my mind is open to what next, and is the country going to open and then give us time to now go and expose what we've been able to do within this lockdown, within this COVID stay home? Are we going to open and give people time to go out and exercise what they've been able to do as they're sitting home? That's the knowledge that we have at least experienced, done homework, sitting home and then working from home, that we've been able to bond with our families. There's been always that space that parents wake up, go to work. Parents go. There is a lot that COVID has made. We have come to self-realization. Actually, it is not about me waking up and going to office. There is a lot I can just do. I can get my laptop, sit home, develop a concept, to get somebody funds. I do my work from home. So we are now looking forward to an open country where we shall just go out and bust and expose what we've already come up with.
Okay.
Freelancers.
Yes.
Okay, let's move to Nancy, but now I'm going to change the question a bit. So next year we know that Uganda is making 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a man made 60 years, what is the retirement age in Uganda legally? Is it still 65?
It's 60.
It's still
60.
60.
It's
Still
60.
60, yeah.
So if a man, if Uganda was a working civil servant in Uganda, he
would
would
be
have retired.
retiring.
This would be his last year working. By all standards, that's a very old man. So Nancy, what do you expect from Uganda as a young person growing in this country? What do you expect the country to give you? What that it legally owes you in 2022?
What do I expect Uganda to give me in 2022 as it's retiring, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's still
That,
here.
that was just to prove that Uganda is actually very old. But
Okay.
Maybe
yes.
as some men retire.
Yeah.
Maybe as some men retire.
Just what do you expect from this country in 2022?
Okay, so in 2022, I honestly expect Uganda to take a more technological approach to solving majority of the problems that we have, because COVID-19 has showed us that we can do a lot of things even without having to move to certain places and stuff, but again we do not have the resources yet to run a country whereby and everyone can have the luxury of sitting home on a laptop and sitting down and doing whatever work that they can. So I expect Uganda to really boost the ICT sector. So that means subsidization, for example. That means skilling in terms of how to operate some of these gadgets, for example, because not all of us do know that. Terry probably has an idea, but I do not know. So if I want to start a YouTube channel, I have no idea how to go about it. So I expect such platforms, such opportunities, training programs for youth to go and learn some of these programs and some of these skilling programs on how to do things virtually, how to get creative, how to be innovative. So this is a Uganda that I expect to see, a more advanced, more modern, more ICT-led sort of country.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Terry, what do you expect the youth to give Uganda? Yeah, of course, there's them expecting from the government, but I guess even the government expects from us.
From us.
So what do you expect the youth, the ideal youth in Uganda, to give the government or to give this nation in the year that starts in a few days from now?
In the general aspect or in
The general aspect.
I would expect the youth to give their full heart and allegiance to the country, because if it has to be a symbiotic relationship. If I'm giving you, you should give me something, and those are one of the rules of the world. So if the government has succumbed to giving you what you want, like subsidization of data, they're giving you loans or even grants to maybe come up with nice schemes, nice projects, innovation, then you should be able to give back to this country. Give in your all, pour your heart into it. Invest back in Uganda. If you have an online business, invest it into something else. And yeah, basically that's what I would expect the youth to give back to Uganda.
Okay. Helen, 2022 is almost here. Yeah. And if as a young girl, as a young lady looking at the next year, what do you expect? What do you hope 2022 should look like from the young little girl's perspective?
I would expect security from the guy enough that there has been bombings, yes. There has been these night arrests. There has been
Arrest can't be described as insecurity.
these arrests. that is the other side of it. There's been these arrests towards elections, and then after elections, they were arresting people anyhowly, find you on streets, and then where are you coming from? So I don't expect those questions again in 2022. This 2022, let's not, because we've lived like we are renting, by the way. We've lived in Uganda like we are renting, and somebody's just there waiting for their money.
Okay.
I have been a culprit of leaving town, then from you have to reach electoral commission, find security, Chira Road police station, find one, then come to Bandari, there is one, Boyogere, there is one. As you reach Coca-Cola, there is one, then Seta, where I stay, there are two. So I am living.
That's how many in total? 6?
There are 6. And you're stopped, you know. You actually leave town at 6. But because of those stoppings, curfew gets you on the way. So I am looking at that time where Uganda now is going to live freely. A girl child is going to actually go out and even enjoy, by the way.
And also
because,
school?
Sorry?
And school for the girl child?
And I am expecting school now. I am seeing schools fees hiking so much. I don't know what our parents are going to do. And I am scared it is hiking because many schools are putting up the option of SOPs. But why can't the government go down to these schools and even provide? What does it take government to give sanitizers? Actually, even the other time they promised us masks, we did not see them. But these are schools. Why can't you provide these masks?
Okay.
You know, so I am looking at that.
Comrade Kidega, how optimistic are you listening to these young people and their dreams? They're really wild dreams. So how optimistic are you that the government of Uganda can, and the citizens of Uganda can help us, or the nation of Uganda, the circumstances we're in, can help us achieve all that they're yearning and wishing for?
Thank you, Godwin. Next year, Uganda, like you said, makes 60 years. But we must take into account that 25 of these 60 years we are caught up in insecurity and turmoil, and Group A fighting Group B. So
why 25? That means from which year to which year?
From between 62 to around 85.
The war in northern Uganda ended in 2005.
Sorry?
The war in northern Uganda.
Yes,
probably ended in 2005.
Yeah, true. But I mean, in terms of governance, okay. Group A coming to take
the problem is if you take us there, they're going to open a discussion that can then go again on and on.
Okay.
There are those who think that those were the more successful years for Uganda, and there are those who think that like you that those were the wasted years of Uganda. Let's just try to avoid that.
Okay. Fast forward, I think that as a country, I am quite optimistic.
Okay.
And as someone who belongs to the ruling party, I look forward to my party living up to its end of the bargain. This year, when Ugandans elected our party, they renewed our contract. They renewed our mandate to serve them. So that means we entered into what you'd call a social contract with the people. So I expect young people to meet up the end of the bargain in terms of paying taxes. So if you're a young person and you're running a business, are you paying your taxes, or you're the ones who are avoiding taxes and instead impeding development of infrastructure and things like that? But also from the government point of view, Helen mentioned something to do with security. I think security is a very fundamental concern for all of us. And I think moving forward, I expect our government to have learned on how to approach national security, that things to do with terrorism is not an open warfare, where you approach it using maybe bombs and machetes, but rather must have counterintelligence. So I expect our government to really invest more money and more resources in terms of building human capacity and human intelligence, so that we can be able to counteract such insecurity cases as they might seem to arise in the future. But also, as a young leader, my responsibility is to continuously encourage young people to take advantage of government programs. I have a communist orientation which believes that government must take center stage in terms of building an environment that supports its people. So, and government has all these programs laid out, the parish development model. So my role is to encourage young people to take advantage of these government programs so they can benefit from them.
Okay.
We know that these commercial banks have very high interest rates, and that's why government presents things like the parish development model as a scapegoat for young people who may not have exactly the collateral security or can't afford the interests of these commercial banks, to have a source of maybe capital that they can access, but of course pay back with time. So yeah, I'll continue to mobilize.
Helen, just hold it there. Our time is fast spent. Let's
I
leave it
wanted
finish.
to just
No. Time is fast spent. Let's just save the interest of time. Yes.
Yeah, so I look forward to mobilizing young people to take advantage of these government programs, because at the end of the day, we all have a role and responsibility to play, both at personal development but also towards national building.
Okay. So we're concluding actually. I've been reminded that our time is done. So I want to ask you guys what your resolutions were for this year, 2021, whether you met them, and what resolutions you have for 2022 and how you plan to meet them. Let's start with Kidega still.
Yeah, my resolutions actually, I want to use what Bobby Wine says at times, rubber dub style. I approached this year in a rubber dub style. I didn't really have a clear outline of what I want to achieve, but yes, at the back of my mind, I knew that I had to get myself into the National Youth Council, which I successfully did. I knew that I had to, build up my profile as a person in terms of maybe academic qualifications, and that's why, like I told you off air, that I've now enrolled for a degree in law. So I think so far I would say I'm on the right path. Yeah, of course, challenges here and there, but so far I think 2021 was, I met a couple of my resolutions, and I look forward to 2022 even being a better year.
So what do you hope to get in 2022? Do you have any plans in mind? Or you're on vibes and inshallah?
No. I think COVID-19 has taught us how to plan and how to, forecast challenges and crises. Because like you will recall that COVID-19 and lockdown came and found most of us hadn't saved enough money, and most of us were living life in a reckless manner. But I think personally, at a personal level, I've learned that it's important for me to save more money, because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. So next year, I look forward to having more financial discipline as a person, making good use of the small money that I get from my hustles here and there, but also enhancing my contribution towards national building, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to Helen.
Yeah, 2020, my focus was on building my careers more, building my profile, then also looking at my position. I was looking at, by the time I resign as Deputy National Youth Leader of DP, what will I have left on table?
And how much of that did you achieve?
And you see COVID here, comes, boom. Things are all like, you wait, So as I had started working, COVID comes, and then schools close. I've been a tutor in Kamuli, so schools close, and then you have to go back and hustle and look for what else now can I do. So I think we have had disorganization of your programs. By the way, I want a youth who will tell me my thing was physical and I was supposed to do it here, and I did it with this COVID. I will get amazed, and I will want to learn from that youth who will tell me my program was like this. I achieved it diligently in the same process that I had planned it.
And then 2022?
2022, I still want to work within that path, work for myself, and look at how best can I place myself somewhere, because I am an independent person. I love living an independent life.
Okay.
Then what can I achieve within this? What can I provide? Because I believe, just like he was elected on the Youth Council, I was elected in the national structures. So people expect a lot from me. So what can I put on table that they are not disappointed with our leadership?
Okay.
So you spoke about the resolutions that I had in 2021.
How far you fared with them, and then also the ones of 2022.
Okay, so my resolutions 2021 were actually brief, but very critical in life. Number one is to come back to her point, to be more flexible in life. Like she said, COVID came and disorganized everything, but flexibility is what is going to push you more in life. If this has failed, what is your plan B? If plan B has failed, what is plan C? So thinking till the end, I think, is a very important thing, and being able to forecast how you can approach a situation or an end goal you want to achieve. So flexibility is one of them. Number two is networking. I believe that your net worth is your network. Actually, back in university, Moses actually used to preach that to us a lot, because I used to meet Moses almost every day. And he's so good with relationships and talking to people and maintaining them. So I used to question him and say, Moses, how come you're so good at this? And he said, relationships are the core of life. So if there's an African saying we have that no man is an island. the more you live in an island, you will never progress. So networking to me was one of the resolutions I had this year. I wanted to keep expanding my network and in genuinity, because the more you want to make connections but you use people, then it's not a good thing. So to build more sensible relationships, more in depth, and they will all benefit us in the long run.
Okay.
And lastly, it's just to leave my impact in society. Because how do I do this? I looked at my online platform. That's my YouTube channel. How do I impact on people? How do I teach people about these laws? How do I simplify it for them? How do I make it creative in a way that they can laugh? How can someone leave a video knowing that, oh, I have a right to free speech, I have a right to free will, I have a right to participate in elections? Do I know the Penal Code Act? So leaving your mark, unfortunately, COVID hindered that physically and impeded it, but you can also do it virtually or in any other way possible.
All right, that's interesting. Nancy?
Okay, so in 2021, I had 4 resolutions. 1 was to complete my master's. 2 was to complete a course my summer school course that I was supposed to do in international development studies in Norway. Another one was to complete a gender course that I just recently completed in The Hague. And then the last one was to finally register a CBO, my own CBO. And out of the 4, I have only managed to complete 1 because COVID happened, of course. But nonetheless, at least I've gone like 90% on the remaining 3. And I'm still going to push on and finalize on the rest. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I learned an earlier lesson, not even in 2020, before COVID. Always go slow on things like resolutions and all those. So I always tended to scale down on them. But last year, at the start of last year, I made up my mind and said, if you're Rastafari, and I am a Rasta in belief. So if you're Rastafari, why should you continue eating meat? The Rastas have a question that your body is not a burial ground for dead cows and goats. So last year, I made up my mind that I would stop eating meat and stop eating goat's meat, anything red meat. And I'm happy that I did that. So for next year, I look forward to learning more languages. I hope to learn Kiswahili. I think Kiswahili is a very pertinent language.
I can teach you.
Someone living in this side of the world. I know is it the Francophone something institute somewhere along Kanjocha Street. They teach Kiswahili, they teach French. So I want to enroll for their Kiswahili and French program. The first interest, of course, is if I can know Kiswahili and hold a conversation with someone on the other side, it would be a very big plus. But if I can also sit somewhere and hear guys speaking French and know that, oh, they're actually talking about ABCD. Oh, they're saying this. This is how you greet. This is how you tell a lady that your dress is elegant and things like that. I would have met my year's resolutions. Yeah, I hope those 2 things. For me, it's more about the languages. I know that we are getting to a world that is shrinking and getting smaller each day. So that in case I ever find myself somewhere in the streets of Paris, I don't have to say, Ogambe Chisebo. So I know what to say. That would be it for me.
Just one word for the young people, just in one sentence.
Yeah, sure.
To the young people, your resolutions are valid. Your resolutions have value and they are achievable. Let no one tell you that, oh, this is too high for you or too much for you. No. You can set them, you can achieve them for as long as you put your mind to them, you work towards them, it's achievable. They are valid. Yeah.
And I really love the meat. There's a place called Musambu. Guys are we go there during campus days and
it's serious.
Go there and not even have money to come back to Makerere. But yeah, like he says, if you put up your mind to something with a bit of discipline, a bit of dedication, a bit of focus, a bit of commitment, you'll always achieve it. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope that you had a good discussion. I hope you enjoyed our talk. Hope to see you next week. Next week will be next year.
Happy New Year.
I hope that we shall see you then. From us this side, all of us wish you Happy New Year. And we hope that the year comes with a lot of, it's a prosperous, we hope it's a healthy, and a year that brings a lot of wealth on your side of the aisle. Thank you very much. God bless you all. God bless Uganda.